Bad news for Ricciardo after Schumacher's move. One of the hottest topics this summer break is Daniel Ricciardo. The Aussie has been very infamous ever since he came to McLaren and performed the way he did in 2021 and especially in 2022. Although he is the first driver to win a race for the team after a 10-year break, and Norris completed the 1-2 in Monza last year for the team, Ricciardo's highlights end right here. He is being paid too much to drive as he drives currently in 2022, and with him scoring just 19 points out of the 95 points that McLaren currently has, Ricciardo is in huge trouble, even with his contract ending at the end of 2023. There have been rumours about Piastri replacing him in McLaren, and if we may add, quite strong ones, which leaves Ricciardo without a seat after the buyout from the team will be completed. If he hoped that Alpine, formerly known as Renault, would retake him, a very dangerous situation has emerged for him. Want to find out? Stick around until the end of this video. Prior to us doing that and explaining about Ricciardo's place in Alpine being endangered, let's talk about how he came to this situation to basically fear for his future. He finished P5 with Renault in 2020, scoring podiums for the team after a very long break. When he went to McLaren in 2021, the move was labelled as a surprising one, and although McLaren were in an increasing form, many wondered why Ricciardo left Alpine. Nevertheless, the British team invested a lot in Ricciardo, and the transfer was labelled as one of the biggest contracts in the season. But Ricciardo has been very disappointing in his first season with McLaren, and as we said earlier in this video, the win in Monza was probably his only highlight of the McLaren career. With 2021 being a season to forget, Ricciardo was hoping that the 2022 season would turn out to be a better one, especially with the new technical regulations taking place. Little did he know he would be subject to huge disappointment. His problems were emphasized by the problems that, according to him, weren't fixed with the new regulations, and Ricciardo has decreased in form additionally. Although rumours about his departure were active even before the Alpine Piastri saga, McLaren and Ricciardo went out with a joint statement saying that both sides will sit down, do their homework, and come back stronger than ever in the second half of the season and 2023. Ricciardo also said that he is committed to McLaren until the end of the 2023 season and doesn't plan to leave the team prematurely. This is very important since Daniel is the only side that can commit a breakup of the relationship between him and the team, which is why we're waiting so long for the potential McLaren-Piastri deal. According to reports, Ricciardo has been asking for $21 million in buyout terms from McLaren if they would want to get rid of him prematurely. When we say it like this, it doesn't seem so bad for Ricciardo after all, right? He does have a place in Alpine with Piastri denying it, and there aren't many drivers that could take the spot away from him. His biggest threat, Pierre Gasly, seems like he doesn't have a clause in his contract that would allow him to leave the team and the end of the 2022 season for a team that is higher ranked than AlphaTauri, so Ricciardo and Alpine reunion wouldn't be a very far-fetched thing that we'll witness. However, certain events transpired in another team, and all of a sudden Ricciardo's potential place in Alpine is endangered. Mick Schumacher, the driver that took his first career points this season by finishing P8 and P6 on consecutive weekends in Silverstone and Austria, has emerged as a candidate to take Alonso's spot in Alpine. But why would Haas want to get rid of Schumacher now that he has scored his first career points and seems to be in improving form? Well, according to Binotto and Ferrari, they aren't satisfied with how Schumacher has been progressing as a driver, and they may very well move away from him and sack him from the Ferrari Drivers Academy. There are some narratives that go in the direction that Schumacher and Haas may be done for good. The first one is that the team has put a halt to the negotiations with Mick regarding the 2023 season and beyond. As Steiner said, the team never announces their driver lineup during the summer break, but we've seen that Magnussen has extended his deal for 2023 and beyond. Haas believe that now that Alonso has taken Vettel's seat in Aston Martin, Mick's options have narrowed down, and the team could use this to gain leverage when it comes to negotiating the terms of their new deal. The second thing is that Mick's uncle, Ralf Schumacher, who is a former F1 driver, said that Mick is eligible for a contract in Alpine now that he hasn't signed one with Haas. Mick hasn't signed a contract yet either, therefore he would be a candidate with speed, as you have seen, said Ralf, who also added that he doesn't see Ricciardo receiving another chance in F1, especially not in Alpine, and labelled Nico Hülkenberg as the other driver who could make a comeback with the team, as he was previously driving for Renault in 2018. There is one thing that is literally forcing us to think that Haas is already looking for Mick's replacement, and that has been announced recently. Antonio Giovinazzi, who is a reserve driver for Ferrari, will get a chance to drive in 2 free practice sessions later this season, more precisely in Italy and in the USA. He'll replace each driver at each event, meaning that the team could possibly look for another solution when it comes to a full-time driver pairing up next to Magnussen. We're not 100% sure how Giovinazzi will replace Schumacher, as we've seen how he performs in Alfa Romeo. Many of us were mad that he was replaced by Zhou, as tons of people labelled the decision as a business one, but we've seen Zhou scoring points in his first outing with Alfa Romeo and proving to be a better choice than Giovinazzi. Nevertheless, the Italian will have a chance to prove himself in Haas, and things could get ugly between the team and Schumacher if they decide to part ways. One thing why Haas will potentially try to look away from Schumacher is the fact that he caused 2 major crashes this season, each one potentially costing over $1 million in Jeddah and Monaco. When Schumacher debuted for Haas, he was paired with Mazepin, who on some occasions was 3 seconds slower than Mick. Therefore, we all thought that Schumacher is a driver that, if given the right seat, could deliver top-notch performance. To this day, we still share this opinion, but now that he's been up against a more experienced driver in Magnussen, we see that he isn't as good at handling pressure. But back to Alpine and Mick. And why do we think that Alpine might want to choose Mick over Ricciardo, now that Gasly is out of the picture, with his contract not having a clause for premature exit, and him being able to leave the team in 2024? Ricciardo is much more experienced than Schumacher, and already has knowledge when it comes to Renault's car. After all, he scored podiums for them after quite some time, but he is in a regressing form, and he is 32 years old. He could turn out to be another Perez story when everybody thought that the Mexican was done and he has literally been in his life form in Red Bull. But keep in mind that Red Bull and Renault are 2 different teams, and it's highly unlikely that Daniel will be nearly as good as he was with Renault back in 2018, 2019 and 2020. Plus, Daniel isn't a long-term solution, something that Piastri was if they treated him with a little more respect and paid a little more attention to him. Mick is the closest thing they'll have to Piastri, with the difference that the young German doesn't have much knowledge when it comes to driving Alpine's cars. However, he does know how to drive an F1 car, something he's done from 2020 onwards, unlike Piastri, who hasn't had a fair share in driving an F1 car. True, the team would have to struggle a bit when it comes to learning Mick how to control the car, but once he does, then the team will be a true force to be reckoned with. If Alpine wants to find a long-term solution once and for all, Mick is the perfect choice for them. Now that the young German is having difficulties fitting well with Haas, the situation could very well turn in his favour, and he could go to the best team that could offer him a seat at the moment. In this case, Ricciardo will be forced to sit out the season or accept deals that are much less than $21 million. The buyout money from McLaren, as no team would want to give that amount of money to a regressing 32-year-old driver. What do you think will happen next regarding this matter? Let us know in the comments below.